Hi, I'm Lori Wellman. I joined Incarnation in 1983, and I've been a member of the handbell choir since it started in 1985 and became the director in 1988. The handbell choir began after a parishioner made a donation to the music ministry in honor of her deceased husband. So we purchased one octave of handbells, that's 13 bells. At first, the regular Sunday choir used the bells to enhance some of their pieces, but it was quickly decided that a separate choir was needed to really fully utilize the bells. So in January 1985, Lonnie Murphy, then the liturgy director, gathered four of us together, and we formed the first handbell choir, which we later called Bells of the Incarnation. After just one lesson from the local handbell dealer, we more or less taught ourselves how to play. At that time, we needed all four of us just to play 8 of the bells. The occasional sharp or flat really presented a challenge, and we had to bring in extra help at that time. But about 1990, we discovered that there were workshops in the area, and we began to learn other techniques. So now we have 2.5 octaves of bells, or 39, and most of us can play 2 bells in one hand. Some of us even can play up to 6 or 7 bells in a given piece. Many people ask why we wear white gloves. This is to protect the brass from perspiration or grease that might tarnish the bells or cause corrosion. Another thing that people don't realize about the bells is that they only ring in one position. Unlike a school bell, they don't ring when the clapper hits either the front or the back of the bell. So we can use this to our advantage when we want to play 2 bells at one time. We can have 2 bells in one hand, but position them so that they are at right angles to each other, and then by turning the wrist, we're able to hit only 1 bell at a time, such as with these 2. Then there are other techniques we can do with the bell. There's a clapper inside that changes the volume. The large bells have 3 positions, and the smallest bells have 2 positions. So with this one, I can play it either softly, medium, or loud. We usually practice with the bells in the quietest position, but when we play, we are most often with the choir and sometimes with the piano or an organ or other instruments, so we need to turn the bells up to loud in order to be heard. Then there are other techniques we can do with the bells to make different kinds of sounds. For instance, we can use a mallet and hit the bell to get kind of a pizzicato sound, or we can hold it in the air and hit it. And again, get a little more of a damped sound. That's a little more obvious with the little bells. Or on the table it would sound like. We used this technique once in a rendition of Chopsticks, and it was very effective. Another thing we can do is to take the bell and literally slam it into the table. This is called a martellato. And that gives a very sudden stop to the sound. Or we can take the clapper and lift it and hit it against the front of the bell, creating a plucked sound. It's a little easier with a smaller bell. On the table, you get the better effect. Some of these techniques we learned by attending regional festivals, some of these with as many as 200 to 800 other ringers. In fact, last March we participated in one with 350 ringers, so you can imagine the amount of sound that this number of bells can make. But most of the time we play for special occasions here at Incarnation, days like Christ the King, Christmas, the Easter season, and Pentecost, a few weddings and funerals, and of course we'll be part of the big centennial celebration. We are the only Catholic church within Minneapolis that we know of that has a handbell choir. There are some in the suburbs, and there are a lot of Protestant churches. But as far as Catholic churches, we don't know of any in Minneapolis itself. Or we received other donations, or when we played for weddings, we would get a donation for that, and we would always buy a new bell with it. We had a couple of bake sales too. So there were really only a few bells that the church actually straight out bought. It was between Lonnie and Father Monahan. They decided what to do with this donation. And he was really thinking about handbells at the time. So I think it was his idea to get it started. I guess I'd have to ask Lonnie to find out if it was her idea or his, but I always got the idea that he was a big part of it. They put an ad in the bulletin and asked if anyone would be interested in ringing. I remember talking to Lonnie that very Sunday and saying to her, "Do you still have positions open? Because I really want to do this." And I found out, well, actually there were only 4 of us who volunteered. So I wouldn't have worried about that. But at the time, I was looking for something in my life that would be a synergistic activity, that the sum is greater than the total of the parts. And I just had that feeling I wanted to be a part of something like that. First of all, you have to know how to read music. And so I have a background in piano, and then I played a string instrument in college, and I played guitar, and so I have a lot of music background, but no formal training. Well, we are all very excited to be part of the liturgies. And bells is literally one of the few ways that you can literally raise your body in praise of God. There aren't too many other activities like that. So we feel like we are definitely praying every time we raise up a bell. And we're just thrilled to enhance the services. I think people are inspired by the bells. People feel happy when they hear the bells. So I'm just glad to be part of that.